Hello, everyone. This is Gerald Celente, and we have with us again, very honored, and privileged to have with us Judge Andrew Napolitano, because nobody says what you say with the authority and judicial background to put things into perspective of what this country is, what it was, and where it's going in terms of the Constitution, our freedom. And it's very heartbreaking with the latest article that you just wrote. And it's called Bloody Gina and Her Team of Torturers. Last week at a pretrial hearing at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, the naval base for Abd al-Ram el-Nashari, you could pronounce it correctly, a Saudi, who was charged with being the mastermind of the attack on the USS Cole in 2000, at which 17 American sailors were killed. A psychologist in charge of interrogating Nashari described in vivid detail both the modern and medieval techniques of torture used upon him. And you go on to mention that the person that became the top CIA,
the director of the CIA, was the lead torturer, a woman named Gina Haspel, nicknamed by her colleagues Bloody Gina. So listen, all those who know me know that my favorite dog in my whole life was named Gina. I'm not talking about the dog. I'm talking about Bloody Gina. I'm talking about Gina Haspel, who we now know. This is very unusual for this to happen, Gerald. When this psychologist last week was called by a defense witness, the interrogators called by the defense to demonstrate to the judge that the evidence that the government wants to introduce against this guy, Nashiri, was obtained by torture. And they had him described in detail, and I'll spare our viewers the gut-wrenching details, except for one, of what they did to him. In doing that, he either intentionally or unintentionally let it slip who the chief torturer was, and that's Gina Haspel. This is 2002. This is in Thailand. Very significant where it is. I'll get to it in a minute. She's the head of the CIA station in Thailand and was the head of the team perpetrating the torture and wrote detailed memos, which are now declassified for the most part. You can get them online, back to her bosses in Langley. So this is the first time we've heard under oath by a person who participated in the torture that it was approved by the highest levels of the CIA and named the person who was in charge of it, who would go on to become the director of the CIA. Torture is a federal crime if committed on a person who's in custody, punishable by 20 years in jail. So this is the first time we know that a CIA director, probably not the first time it happened, but it's the first time we know about it, committed felonies earlier in her career. Now, what do we care? Why do we care about Nashiri? Because if the government can torture him and learn at the end of the torture, he said the same things under torture that he told them ahead of time, but they didn't believe him because they wanted to inflict pain and misery on him. If the government can do that, then there isn't any restraint on the government whatsoever. Now, just to finish this story, the statute of limitations for torture is 8 years. This torture occurred in 2002. I am sure that the psychologist was aware of that when he admitted that he was part of the team and Bloody Gina was. But they have not escaped all prosecutors, because the International Criminal Court in The Hague, to which Thailand is a member, because the torture took place in Thailand, characterizes torture as a war crime. No statute of limitations and no executive pardons recognized. Meaning, if these torturers, whose names are now out in public, go to a country where the court is recognized, they can be arrested, indicted, and prosecuted. By the way, who recognizes the court? All countries in the world except for North Korea, China, Russia, and the United States. What a club.
Killer club.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned they call her Bloody Gina. You know, I keep hearing they always blame. It's just, if only women were in charge.
Oh, God.
You know, I'm so sick of that. I don't care if it's white, black, green, yellow, men, women, good and bad come in all of them.
Yes.
You look at the track record of the women in charge. Hillary Clinton, how'd you feel when you heard Muammar Gaddafi was killed? We came, we saw, he died. Madeleine Albright, they asked her, is the price of 500,000 Iraqi children under the age of 5 worth the sanctions and the war that Bill Clinton committed when she was on 60 Minutes with Leslie Stahl? She said, yes, the price is worth it. And you write about this. Her team calls her Bloody Gina. The people in the CIA, right?
Yes. Now, she was appointed by Trump and Senator Feinstein. Not a fan of this show or of you or me, but, you know, even a stopped clock is right twice a day, is terrific on the subject of torture. Senator Feinstein of California is the one who put into the public record of the Senate the 6,000 pages that the Senate Intelligence Committee staff had uncovered of the tortures that George Bush authorized. George Bush personally asked her not to. Barack Obama personally asked her not to. John McCain said, because he's a victim of torture, put it in there, and if you don't, Diane, I will. Anyway, she's interrogating Haspel, who was up for Senate confirmation to be the head of the CIA. If she had asked just 2 more questions, or if she had known what we now know, then Bloody Gina would never have been confirmed.
Yeah. You go on also to mention here that